Greetings to my fellow colleagues, friends, and compositors. I wanted to make this video about generative AI mats and where we are because it's been something that's been of notable interest to me. And because in the past I can think of a couple times where this would have been useful before they were created. We're going to go through a couple of the solutions that are readily available nowadays. I don't think that the final result is 100% perfect, but I do believe that there's some merit to it, and I could think of a couple use cases where people would use this, artists would use this, or studios would use this and get a mat that, while not 100% of the way there, would still be useful for a project or for a shot or for a part of a shot in a situation where it would probably take hours of roto or hours of compositing work to rebuild what would be the foreground. I chose this shot specifically because it's an uncontrolled environment. Uh, some of it is in, you can see that there's a sky back there, but let's say the client wanted to fully cut out the foreground character and put it on its own layer, right? It's something that happens a lot, especially when there's sets involved, especially in situations where the character does something in a take where it would be hard to redo that take or very expensive. So I'm going to show you the final output right now just to get the conversation going. This is the final output I got, and it's, like I said, not 100% perfect, but for purely AI generated work, this definitely was not bad, especially for about 20 minutes of roto and I don't know, like 3 hours of messing with the different models or the different things that you can put into Nuke. It's not bad. Speaking of which, I want to thank the following people. Alex Villabon has been coming out with videos about generative AI, Comfy UI, so he mentioned this. Rafael Silva, who I believe has a GitHub page on how ViTmatte works in Nuke. Julian Cruiser, who released a video on depth maps for the Foundry, who created a technique that I think is very useful for all of these. The action VFX for the footage, the VFX Talk Discord, because of the discussions happening there. So let's get started. I don't think this is perfect, like I said, but I think it has use, and I'm going to try to chat about each of the different solutions and what they can do and why they're useful. So let's get started. Just because a solution doesn't work on this shot doesn't mean it might not be useful for another shot or another situation. I want everybody to keep that in mind. Segment anything, I believe, ships with the category. Do I think it's perfect? No. Do I think it has its uses? Yes. Was this a shot where I think it had its uses? No. As you can see, it's, to me, not detailed enough. For something that's a lot more hard surface or for something a lot more simple, I think it probably would be useful. To me, this is okay, but not what I need. I also want to point out that depth maps in and of themselves could probably be used as mats for shots, so that's why I use them as an example on here. I think most people know about that at this point. So before we get started, generally people clamp this. I like to soft clip it. It's kind of like, pick your poison. But what I like to do is I like to move the range into something that might be easier for the model to understand. Another thing I want to do, again, Julian Cruiser did this in one of his videos. I'm going to show this by putting it here, is there's an expression that you can do that will resize the frame footage so that it gets smaller and bigger, and then we'll unresize it after the model has looked through it. What this does is it tends to bring a sense of stability to the model because it runs it several times on the same frame based on this scaling that it does. And it generally tends to make a better output because it's running the model several times on the same frame, even if it's just scaled slightly bigger or smaller. So that to me was kind of like a big, that's interesting. That helps out a lot of the outputs. That and a time blur that gets set on 8.1 and start. Now, does that mean that we're going to get something that's perfect? Probably not. As you can see, the Midas output, while decent, is lacking detail, and I don't think that this would have been a solution that I would have gone with on this shot, but I think it's interesting, and I think it's something to keep in mind. The next one is Depth Anything, which to me is like the big brother of Midas, and it kind of does the same thing. A lot of this is kind of just, would this be useful? I mean, you could, in theory, probably create a garbage matte or make a garbage matte out of the brightest thing in the scene and then cut this out from the garbage matte. And would it create a matte? Sure. Would it have the level of detail that I need? Maybe not, but I think it's on the way there. Like, it's starting to get to the level of detail that I think you could use as a something to cut out the foreground from the background. So that's why I wanted to present this. You can see that there's still a level of instability that's there, but it's starting to get there. So the next one is ModNet. This also ships with Nuke. You can see that detail-wise, it's starting to get better, but sadly, I think it's still not there as far as like what you would need. You could probably find like some kind of happy medium between blending stuff from Depth Anything with ModNet to create a foreground matte, and I think maybe there would be a world where you could use these two and make something that's usable, but I think it would probably be a little bit more time consuming than what I'm going to present in the next 30 seconds. But not bad, not bad. So I just wanted to put that out there. I'm going to skip this one for now. Next thing is Switchlight. Switchlight is its own thing. Um, it's basically software that you can download that will take a 2D image and you can kind of relight it and separate the materials from it. I think it's pretty useful. You can put it in. You can feed it an HDRI, and it'll integrate the lighting on the character to feel like it's in that HDRI world. Which for most CG compositors, and I believe most compositors actually, broadcast probably would still use this for certain things, especially if it was in a green screen situation. But it also has AI background removal, which is something that would be really relevant to us right now. So you can feed it an image sequence, and it'll spit out an output directory and give you what you need. So this is what it got out of it, and I think it did a pretty good job. You still need to do some roto, because obviously it missed certain parts of this. But, you know, not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. Obviously, it doesn't grab everything, and it does miss things here and there. But between 20 minutes of roto and what you get out of Switchlight, that's not too bad. But we can always take it to the next level, which is kind of why I wanted to make this video. So ViTmatte is very resource expensive, and you do need to create your own cat files by downloading the model and running the Python script. I made them for Indie and for normal, both the large and small model. I generally run the small model, uh, but I think it has merit. So how this works is you feed it a matte that's not perfect but close, and then it'll feed out a matte that has like a certain level of detail to it. So I'm not going to click on it because it's going to eat up all my memory. But I fed it the Switchlight matte, and I had it run everything, and I matted and key mixed in certain parts of this, and then I maxed in like a bit of the Switchlight. I did like 20 minutes of roto, and you know, you do the typical despilly things that you could do on here, like lazy color smear and APH push. And this is where we're at, and I think this is decent. Do I think this is perfect? No. No, I don't think that this is perfect, and I don't think it would work on high-end films. But if you're gonna need a matte for something, just like a quick and dirty matte, maybe for like a first looks or something, and you don't want to send it out to do roto on first looks, I think there's some merit to this. I think there's some use for this, and I think that there, what you gain from this for the amount of effort you need to put in, it's worth it. I think it's got value. It's worth it. The juice is worth the squeeze on this. So that's why I wanted to make a video on this. If you're interested in chatting about this, you're interested in maybe I can share the ViTmatte files that I have. I think they're only like 400 megs or something. I would definitely check this out. It's definitely got its use cases for uncontrolled extractions, which are never going to be perfect to begin with, but the level of detail it gets is pretty good and could definitely be useful to somebody somewhere somehow. And that's basically just kind of what I wanted to chat about. If you want to chat more about this, let me know. And that's basically it. Hope everybody has a great day.